I did not fly a plane.
Didn't land a plane. Don't know what I'm doing.
Hello and welcome to I Hate Your Movie, a bonus episode where we're gonna discuss
Fun facts.
fun facts / movie stories. Movie stories first. I'm gonna give you.
I still think this is movie stories are fun facts. When I say fun facts in the things, it's usually a movie story.
Okay, let's say this is fun facts.
Fun facts, actual facts.
Okay, I've got actual articles, so this is backed up.
Articles.
Yeah,
The Sun says.
the Sun is more reputable than anything I have. The Sun is like the New Yorker compared to these. So,
Excellent. On with the show.
on with the show. So, did you know that Robin Williams had a big falling out with Disney over Disney's use of the genie?
No, I didn't know that.
Well, there we go. So, should I read the article?
No.
I don't want to get things wrong, though. If I get things wrong, then it is what it is. So basically, Robin Williams only agreed to do the genie if Disney don't use him in the marketing of the film.
Okay.
Because it was the 90s, it was like the heyday of the kids' Happy Meal and things like that. And he didn't want to be associated with that. And Disney just said, fuck you. And they used him anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, and it took union minimum wage to do the job in exchange that they don't use him in marketing.
Wow.
Yeah, and they had like a really long falling out, like a 20-year falling out. And then Bob Iger, was one of the Disney CEOs, later on, he gave Robin Williams a Pablo Picasso painting as a sorry,
Wow.
basically. And then apparently it was all good after that.
Yeah, if someone gives me a Picasso, I'm dropping the beef,
It's just how sleazy Disney is like. We're just gonna ignore everything you want.
I think, in a studio the size of Disney, there's always going to be some people in there that are a bit scummy. I don't think you can just keep blaming Disney
Well,
for doing things. It just takes one producer on that film to shake his hand and look in his face and lie to him and then go tell the marketing team something completely different.
yeah. But, it was a high-profile enough actor and things like that maybe promises should have kept.
Yeah.
It was just ignored for a while, the feud. I'm hesitating to call it a feud from Robin Williams. He probably just ignored Disney.
Yeah.
Because he's he was a nice guy. It's just a kind of scummy thing. Next fun fact.
So it's a fun fact about Spider-Man. There's the original Spider-Man 2002 with Tobey Maguire.
Mm-hmm.
You know that scene where he first gets his powers and he's in the canteen with Kirsten Dunst and all the food, he trips up and all the food goes in the air and he catches all the stuff on a tray.
Yeah.
Do you know that none of that's CGI?
I know, it was 200 takes?
156.
Okay.
156.
I did kind of know that, yeah.
So they glued a tray to Tobey Maguire's hand and they just kept throwing all these stuff up in the air.
Yeah.
And then expecting him to catch it. And it took 156 takes for him to catch it all. And it's like really well acted because I think if I had done that after 156 takes, I would immediately throw everything back up in the air and be like, woo!
Or just not believe it and just like, immediately drop it. I've got a Spider-Man 2002 movie story.
Yeah?
This you could make a movie out of this, just this story. And it's called The Big Money Heist That Hit the Set of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Big money heist.
Yeah, I do want to read this because it is a bit. During the production of Sam Raimi's first of 3 Spider-Man films, multiple spider costumes disappeared. And at the worst possible time, in the middle of production. Each were estimated to be worth $50,000.
What?
$150,000 free suits. That movie actually ran out of money.
Mm-hmm.
Famously, another fun fact. They ran out of money for the clips where he's changing into Spider-Man. So they just pulled clips from Darkman, his previous film.
Right.
And Evil Dead Army of Darkness. Yes, they pulled grips on that.
What?
Just like incorporated that into the like the transformation scene,
Okay.
like the little skull and things. So yeah, so now it doesn't sound like a much. Now probably $150,000 disappears, and Marvel said they just gonna go, whatever.
Do you think they will actually cost 50,000 to make? Or is it a valuation based on their value as like a movie memorabilia? Like someone would pay 50,000 for a suit that was on the set of a film, but surely it wouldn't cost 50,000 to make. There's no way.
I don't know, because they are very specific.
They are very specific, but how much can it cost to make a suit?
I don't. Did they take into the design into account? But maybe it costs that much. Yeah.
How?
Like if you get like a
Gold. Made
or
out of gold.
maybe you take into account all the different versions that had to be designed before they arrived to that conclusion. I can see it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
50,000 for
Yeah,
one
for
one suit.
Yeah. For that Spider-Man movie, yeah. It wasn't until 18 months after the theft was pulled off, the answers were finally found, thanks to the most classic of mystery clues. A tip called in from the ex-wife of Jeffrey Gustafson, a security guard working from Sony. His ex-wife, for motives unknown, decided to point investigators in his direction. So, apparently, he also stole Val Kilmer's Batman suit from Batman Forever.
What?
Estimated to be worth $150,000.
See, I just think this is valued based on movie memorabilia. I don't think it can't have cost 150,000.
Maybe, but if
What is it? You could make a real Batman suit for $150,000.
The only reason I don't think is because this article probably used the police report to, I can see Fox kind of overestimating the value.
Okay, yeah. Someone stole that ladder. Yeah, it's a priceless thing. Yeah, it's worth £10,000, $10,000. That's what we're putting on the insurance.
Yeah, because they were stolen during production, they had to accommodate for that. So they had to change schedule. So all the Peter Parker scenes were shot while they were looking for the suit. Yeah.
Cool. There you go. Now it's your fun fact.
This was my fun fact.
No, I did the Spider-Man one. And then you jumped on the back of it with another Spider-Man one.
So that was my fun fact.
Yeah, I don't have too many.
Okay. I don't know how well known this is. I thought this was well known, but I think I mentioned it to you once and you're like, no, this is not true.
Okay.
Sylvester Stallone's first movie was a 1970s softcore porn film. It's called Party at Kitty and Studs.
That does sound like a porn.
And he was very ashamed of it, but he had I really like Stallone. And this is why this gets into the Rocky discussion as well, which is like he was always struggling for money up until Rocky. Mm-hmm. And for Rocky, he had to sell his own dog.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh.
To, finish the movie.
Wow.
So he's like a real legend, and he doesn't bring it up a lot. That he was like living on the streets and doing like softcore porn and selling his own fucking dog. He bought it back from the money from Rocky, by the way.
I would hope so.
Yeah. I remember curiously looking for this movie. I think Samurai Cop has more softcore porn in it than this movie. It's just like a very like nothing.
It's like a seedy film.
Not even. It's more like you're a fly on the wall at a kind of high school party.
Okay.
It was very, very softcore. But, things were happening.
Yeah, like you'd probably watch a film like Climax and have a lot more porn in it than...
This was before Deep Throat, which is like the most famous porn ever made.
Debbie Does Dallas.
Yeah, that too. Like
That's another film for the podcast.
Well, it's a new genre. So yeah, porn, back in the day was even way more frowned upon than now. So he was very...
It's a hard bridge to go over from porn to actual proper filmmaking.
Totally. Stallone hated the script and initially wanted nothing to do with it, but he was sleeping in a bus station.
Wow.
At the time, and just couldn't justify turning it down. He says, it was either do that movie or rob someone because I was at the end, he told Playboy in 1978. Instead of doing something desperate, I worked for 2 days for $200 and got myself out of the bus station. So,
well done to him. Cool. Would you like to hear a fun fact about the film Dodgeball?
Go on.
Awesome. So, you know the film Dodgeball?
It was a very long time ago since I've seen it.
I love the film Dodgeball.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
It's Matt Stone and Trey Parker, right?
No.
Oh.
That's Basketball. Basketball is also a really good film. I actually have the jersey
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen it. I have the Beers jersey.
Okay.
They were selling it at a Real Big Fish concert for an extortionate price, but I had to do it. Anyway, fun fact about Dodgeball. Do you know the director completely walked off set during the film and he almost refused to finish the film?
Okay.
So the story goes, if you look at the images for Dodgeball, the tagline is Dodgeball, a real underdog story. So the script initially went that they got all the way to the final of the Dodgeball tournament. And then in the film, there's a scene where they lose at the final stage. And then it turns out that the bad guy stepped over the line and them losing didn't count. But originally, that's where the film ended. They just lost.
Okay.
They went all that way to save their gym and they just lost at the end because that's the peak reason for the tagline.
Okay.
It's a real underdog story because you would probably lose. And they did all these test screenings for the film and everyone fucking hated it. Like everyone really like, what is going on? The film's ended? That's stupid. Like, so the studio went back to the director and was like, no, we've got to put this kind of like happy ending on it. And he was like, no. And they were like, you've got to. And he was like, no. And he just walked out. He just left.
Nice.
Eventually, like Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, and everyone was calling, texting him. They managed to convince him to come back and finish the film, and that's why there's this like really cheesy ending to the film where they win, and they've not only that, but he's bet the prize money on winning. Therefore, gets millions of pounds and buys the rival gym because the writer and director was just like, whatever, just this happens, then this happens. There you go.
No, I'm interested. I haven't seen Dodgeball, but I might be with the studio on that one. Like, if it's a comedy, it should have like a happy ending.
Yeah,
I think so. I don't know the specifics, but just based on that description.
I don't think I'd have liked the film as much if it didn't have the happy ending.
Yeah, sometimes studios get it right. So we talked about troubled productions.
Yep.
My favorite troubled production story is from Blade Trinity,
I love Blade Trinity.
the third Blade movie. Patton Oswalt, who plays a character in that, spilled the beans on all the goings on in Blade Trinity. Are you ready for this?
Go on.
God. So Patton Oswalt talks about meeting Wesley Snipes.
Okay.
When I met him, I was like, hi. And he was like, I'm Blade. And also, Natasha Lyonne was on that set, and she was going through some kind of mental breakdown. Wesley is all boundaries, and she has no boundaries. She played the blind computer expert, so the first...
Yes, there was.
That's
Yeah, I
it.
remember the blind computer expert now.
Yeah. So the first scene they had together, she put her hand right on his face, and he just recoiled. It was awesome. According to Oswald, Snipes dealt with his increasing lack of interest in the movie by turning to copious amounts of weed, and sometimes his own insecurity would lead to tense showdowns with the besieged Goya. So David Goya, who wrote The Dark Knight, directed this film.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a very interesting writer because he spent most of his career writing, and he says things like, "I'm not good at characters or story." That's like
That's writing.
That's writing.
What are you good at then?
He's like,
I put the words on the paper. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah, and that's why, because he wrote Man of Steel as well, and he wrote a bunch of stuff that either very good or very bad, and I think it's based on the director or what they do with his like limited script. You know?
Okay. Yeah.
Wesley Snipes was just fucking crazy in a hilarious way. He wouldn't come out of his trailer and he would smoke weed all day, which is fine by me because I had all the DVDs I wanted to catch up on as Patton Oswalt. I remember one day on the set, they let everyone pick their own clothes, and there was one black actor and he wore this t-shirt with the word garbage on it in big stylish letters. It was his shirt, and Wesley came down to the set, which he only did for close-ups. Everything else was done by his stand-in. I only did one scene with him. But he comes on and goes, "There's only one other black guy in the movie and you make him wear a t-shirt that says garbage, you racist motherfucker." And then he tried to strangle the director, David Goya.
Oh my god.
The slow deterioration of Snipes and Goya's professional relationship ultimately led to the director taking matters into his own hands to deal with his temperamental lead actor. So he went out that night to some strip club and we were all drinking. And there were a bunch of bikers there. So David says to them, "I'll pay for all your drinks if you show up on set tomorrow and pretend to be my security." Wesley freaked out and then went back to his trailer. And then the next day, Wesley sat down with David and was like, "I think you need to quit. You're detrimental to this movie." And David was like, "Why don't you quit? We've got all your close-ups and we could shoot the rest of your stand-in." And that freaked Wesley out so much that for the rest of the production, he would only communicate with the director through post-it notes. And he would sign each post-it note from Blade. There was one scene where he just refused to open his eyes. He was laying down somewhere and he just refused to open his eyes. So they had to CGI his eyes open.
Oh my God.
And the other thing is, he didn't call Ryan Reynolds by his name. He called him Funny Cracker.
Okay. Well, he is a funny cracker. It's accurate, at least.
You're up.
I'm up. Cool. Here's a bit of a question for you. I'm sure you're going to know the answer, but the question is just in general to anyone listening. Who directed Nightmare Before Christmas?
It's Tim Burton.
It's not Tim Burton.
No?
It's not Tim Burton. Did you know it wasn't Tim Burton?
Because he told me before.
Okay, cool.
I'm just playing along.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not Tim Burton. So Nightmare Before Christmas is directed by a man called Henry Selick.
Okay. Is it related to Tom Selleck?
I hope so. Hope he's got a glorious moustache as well. Yeah, so he's directed by Henry Selick and written by Caroline Thompson.
Oh, okay. That Caroline Thompson. I'm joking. I don't know.
So the rough idea came from Tim Burton, and he kind of went to the studio and was like, all right, I've got this idea. And then they went away and Caroline Thompson wrote it and they signed on Henry Selick to direct it. They got most of the way through production. They got most of the way till it was about a month before it was about to release. And at the time, Batman Returns had come out like a year before and it was doing really well. It was like one of the most popular films of the decade. And because of that, and because Tim Burton's name was so strong, about a month before, they changed all the posters to read Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas.
Wow.
And obviously Henry Selick isn't happy about that.
No.
Because nobody knows that he directed Nightmare Before Christmas. It's one of the most popular films of all time, I would say. Very few people have bad things to say about it, and he doesn't get any of the credit.
All right, we'll look this guy up. I don't know. I know nothing about him, other than he might have a mustache.
Cool. Over to you.
Did you know Mr. Bean landed a plane?
Okay.
So,
Mr. Bean landed a plane. So Rowan Atkinson.
Rowan Atkinson.
The actor who plays Mr. Bean.
Yes. I just said Mr. Bean just to be more dramatic. And the article says as well. Mr. Bean flies a plane over Kenya after pilot faints.
Okay.
Mr. Atkinson, 46, who does not know how to fly, kept the plane carrying his wife and 2 children on a steady course until the pilot regained consciousness.
Oh, so he didn't land a plane then? The tagline of this was Mr. Bean lands a plane.
Flies a plane.
Did it? I'm sure you said lands a plane.
Oh, yeah, I might have gone wrong. This is why I want to read the article, because I don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah, but it doesn't need to be word for word. Rowan Atkinson's not going to give you a call in a few days' time and be like, excuse me.
Excuse me. He's doing his Mr. Bean voice.
Hello.
Hello. Excuse me.
Hello.
Daddy. I did not fly a plane.
Didn't land a plane. I don't know what I'm doing.
So it was a little plane. It wasn't like a...
It wasn't like a Boeing 747.
I thought it was that.
No, I immediately thought it was going to be like a fixed wing kind of.
Yeah, it is. But he kept altitude 16,000 feet, and his wife tried to revive the man.
Can't be that hard to continue flying a plane, surely. You just got to hold it still, right? Because you don't even have to hold the gas down, is that? You have one of those, like, crank things.
An on button. Fly now. Fly now. Over to you.
Over to me, right. So, E.T. and Poltergeist started from the same script.
Whoa.
So I saw the beginning of this and I was like, this is perfect. This is perfect to tell Dan because he's so scared of E.T.
I think Spielberg produced Poltergeist and directed parts of it because the director is famously hard to work with. He was like a B-movie director he picked up.
Okay.
I think he did Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I can't remember his name right now.
So the article goes on to say that he was going to produce a film called Night Skies about a family that got invaded by aliens and the aliens could kill with one touch. Mm-hmm. And Spielberg decided to go a family-friendly route and he made E.T. based on that. And I think that's where his finger lights up at the end. I think originally that's a touch of death.
Oh my God.
Kind of thing. I'm guessing that bit.
Giving me new nightmares.
But the original filmmaker for Poltergeist is John Sayles, it says here.
Okay.
And he wouldn't rewrite the script, but he kept the idea for Poltergeist. So there you go. All of your fears of E.T. are well founded because he started off as a murderous invading alien force.
I knew it, goddammit. I told you and you didn't believe me. Poltergeist. It's not in my notes, but I know a fun fact.
Do you?
So the whole movie is about a typical, like, building an Indian burial ground. Boo, boogie, boogie, boogie. It's a well-done movie, but it's kind of cliche now. But one fun fact is that there's a scene where a teenage girl goes into a lake and she finds some skeletons and they, like, attack her.
Right.
But apparently the skeletons were real human skeletons.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the fun fact.
Sheesh. Where do you even get human skeletons for your film?
The corpse of what E.T. killed.
Awesome. Over to you.
Okay. Let's talk about the Titanic.
Okay, I do. When I was looking at my fun facts, there was a fun fact about this, but I didn't think it was interesting enough to write down.
So James Cameron directed the Titanic.
Did he?
I'm just, laying down some groundwork. Do you know that scene in the Titanic where Jack draws...
Oh, yeah, this is the one I looked up. This is the one I looked up.
And that was James Cameron drawing.
Yeah.
James Cameron drew the naked Kate Winslet.
Yep.
So I think that's only interesting because it shows you that he comes from a art background, actually, and he likes to hide this fact a lot, but he was an art director and set designer for Roger Corman, a really huge B-movie guy, producer. And James Cameron's first movie was like Piranha 2, and he likes to say that was not his movie, but it is his movie. So he comes from his like B-movie background where he did art and stuff and concept art and that kind of stuff. And yeah, so he just stepped in and just did the art quickly. Another fun fact that's tangentially kind of related. Predator. It is related.
Is there some Predator Titanic crossover that I have not seen? It's a great film idea, by the way. Trapped on a boat at sea with an alien.
Yeah, they have to work together at the end. Do you think they do the "I'm the king of the world" scene with the Predator? So, I forget who designed the Predator as a creature, but that guy and James Cameron were flying on a plane. And Predator had a lot of trouble at the beginning.
Was Mr. Bean on the plane? Did you have to fly the plane?
Predator. I don't know how to do Mr. Bean.
I think we started really close to Mr. Bean, and as it goes on, we're so far away.
What does he say?
He doesn't say anything. He's
he
mute.
says words sometimes, but like it really like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Bean. Kind of, yeah.
Let's give up on that.
Suddenly.
So they were flying the plane on with Mr. Bean, and
Predator came along.
So Predator had a lot of trouble with production, where especially with the creature. So the first Predator creature was this like pink bug creature,
Right.
and they're like, "Oh, this doesn't work." Fun fact, played by just like fun fact, like Inception right now. Gotta bring up Inception again. Played by Jean-Claude Van Damme, the original Predator.
Really?
Yeah. He was a guy in a costume with the original. I don't think he was the guy in a costume in the actual Predator, what you see in the movie. But, so, this costume designer and James Cameron were flying on a plane, and this costume designer was struggling to how to make the Predator look good. And James Cameron had the idea of the mandibles.
Yeah.
And he drew that. So he's responsible for that. And one fan theory is that he was going through a divorce at the time.
Right.
So he drew a vagina mouth on the Predator.
I think that's a stretch, to be honest.
A little bit, but I've read this somewhere.
Fan theories. Boo.
Boo. And the big story for Titanic.
Didn't really sink.
Yes. So this was at the end of filming of Titanic. They had a wrap-up party after filming.
Yep.
And they were eating clam chowder. And someone spiked the clam chowder with PCP.
Really?
The title of the article is actually Titanic's greatest unsolved mystery involves a Congo line, PCP, and an unidentified chowder. Basically, everyone got ill and very happy. There was everyone there, like Bill Paxton and John Landau. We don't know if Leo and Kate Winslet was on there, but I think he was, James Cameron. For more than 60 people who did eat the chowder, it didn't take long for the effects to take hold. Cameron, who initially thought that the shellfish might have contained paralytic shellfish neurotoxin, which is very dangerous, immediately stepped away from the set to vomit. I'm standing at the monitors near the camera and the room is empty. It was like the Twilight Zone. Some people were laughing, some people were crying, some people were throwing up, Bill Paxton said. One minute I felt okay, the next minute I felt so goddamn anxious I wanted to breathe in a paper bag. Cameron was feeling the same way. James Cameron, at the end of this night, was stabbed in the face with a pen by a crew member who was high.
Okay, no.
Yeah, so it was like a proper, like, a groupie PCP freak-out session, you know.
Awesome.
They haven't found the perpetrator, but James Cameron suspects it was someone from the catering.
Yeah, makes sense. They control the food.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, so the next one comes a little bit out of, like, I was looking up what's the highest grossing film, what's the lowest grossing film, what's the longest film, what's the shortest film, that kind of thing. And I found the longest movie ever made.
Is it a Hungarian film called Satan Tango?
And it is not.
Oh, okay.
Okay. How long is Satan's Tango?
8 hours.
Okay. Would you like to have a guess at how long the longest film ever made is?
I guess it'd be like 20 hours, something crazy.
Okay, you think?
Is it days long?
Yeah.
Go on.
The longest film ever made, and it's in the Guinness Book of Records, is 35 days, 17 hours. And it's a real-time view of it's a documentary basically about globalization and where things start in the production line and where they end. So it's a real-time view of a pedometer that is made in China and then is shipped to Sweden, and it follows it all the way from parts to production to being built, to being put on the shipping container. It sits on the ship for the entire run between China and Sweden. It then follows it to the shop and ends with it being on sale.
Okay. Wow. You know, I would never watch that, but I like the idea of existing. It's kind of a cool idea. No one ever needs to watch that, but it's cool that it exists.
Exactly, yeah. I think so.
It's kind of like just the movie existing is like a statement. It's the documentary itself.
Cool. That was my fun fact. That was the fun fact of the longest film ever made.
Sounds cool. You're going to watch Satan Tango later?
No.
I told you before I'm going to cut it into like half-hour pieces. It's going to say next episode, and then you're going to like it. I'm almost out of my ones. There's only one left.
Okay.
This is like the most gossipy one.
Right.
Did you know Jack Nicholson grew up believing his mum was his sister?
I did know that, actually, yeah.
So, because he was born to a lady who was like 18 years old, and because Jack Nicholson was born like 150 years ago, and it was still frowned upon that to have a child so, not just so early, but so out of wedlock, that they kept up this life for 40 fucking years.
Wow.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Yeah.
What made them find out in the end? Did she just come clean? Or was it like a kidney transplant type deal situation? Like, what made them tell the truth? Like, surely after 40 years, like, you just don't.
So a magazine did a profile on him, and they were double checking his like personal stories and like family.
Wow.
And that's how we find out. Age 39.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, surely that, unless they're really not close, surely there would be some tip-offs. For 40 years.
Yeah, I think you just get stuck in the routine of it, don't you? Because the kid doesn't remember for the first 5 years of its life. So you've got 5 years to get it locked down before they start remembering shit.
Do you think there's like a time is running out? Like a 24 start on a big panel as she's like breastfeeding. It's like Jack Nicholson.
5 years is up. Throw it away.
Yeah, throw it. Quick! You have it, Grandma.
Excellent. So I've got two more. Going still in the vein of like statistics and that kind of thing that I was looking up, what do you think the most profitable film of all time is?
Gone with the Wind.
No.
Yeah, maybe like if you put it that specific, profitable.
So based on percentage. So it cost X to make, it made Y.
Ooh. So it's like a really cheap movie that made a lot.
Yeah.
Blair Witch Project.
Okay.
They made it for like $5.
You're in the right vein.
Oh.
Ooh. I was going to tell you, but now you're really close. So I'm going to carry on guessing.
Is it like a found footage film? Is that how I'm close?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, because it's Paranormal Activity.
It is Paranormal Activity. Well done. Ding, ding, ding,
Ding,
ding,
ding, ding, ding.
Now, I don't have to watch Quigley. Yes, so Paranormal Activity. Have you seen Paranormal Activity? I haven't seen it.
I did. It's fucking boring as shit.
Yeah.
But the sequel was even worse.
Okay. Cool. So the film cost $60,000 to make somehow. And this is a bit of a weird one. So they cost $60,000 and then they spent $400,000 on marketing.
Yeah, but the marketing was a big part of that movie. But I remember it was like, you have to demand it. They show like night vision camera footage of people like, woo! I don't know what they're reacting to. Maybe they watched Little Nicky. Yeah, if you want to see this actual footage of this and that, you have to demand it comes to your cinema.
Okay.
And it was really smart because they're like, yeah, it really engaged people.
It made $89 million. That is a return on investment of 19,758% profit margin.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. That's my fun fact about the most profitable film of all time.
Wow. Another James Cameron thing.
Okay.
So yeah, he comes from this B-movie background, as I said, and people didn't want to hire him as a director. He had the idea for Terminator.
Yeah.
But people were going to buy the script, but they were going to attach a different director to it. So his offer was that he sold the Terminator script for $1 if he could direct it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just a local thing.
In your opinion, what's the better film, Terminator 1 or 2?
As I grew up, Terminator 1.
Yeah, I find that as well.
Yeah, Terminator 2 is a good film. I don't know, Terminator has that alien energy to it, which is like... I like the horror more than the actiony things.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I think Arnie works better as a kind of just a visual of this giant Austrian man. I've got another fun fact about that, by the way.
Yeah.
So let's attach that to it.
Yeah.
So this is kind of from two franchises, but the same idea. James Bond and the Terminator was written to be a regular man that can just blend in to the surroundings.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that both became these iconic, very specific things. So James Bond was written to be like this normal guy. That's why his name is James Bond, because it's a boring name. That can be a spy and just really blend into people. And then you can really imagine it yourself maybe being that. That's what Ian Fleming's idea was. And it's interesting that it became this like character that it was supposed to be nothing, and it became like this like
very specific. Like when you hear James Bond, you immediately think of these really specific character traits, and they're quite impressive.
Yeah, and the Terminator was the same thing. So he didn't want to cast Arnie, who at the time he wasn't even famous yet. So yeah, he wanted to cast like another B-movie actor who just looks like a guy in his 40s and just nothing special about him. And then just no, let's go with this giant mountain of a man.
I see both sides of the argument. I think if you're going for Terminator 1 and you're going for that kind of alien feel, then yeah, just like a regular everyday guy, the idea that it could be anyone, kind of works in a kind of horror thing. I don't think it would have worked. It certainly wouldn't have been the popular film it would if the Terminator wasn't this imposing, looking like an indestructible guy.
Yeah, okay. Indiana Jones 5 is just coming out. It's
doing
doing really well. Everyone loves the old doddering fool.
Yep.
It's Indiana Jones. Everyone wants to just see that, an old Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. People want to see like an 80-year-old man.
Shitting his pants. Trying to get up. So, Indiana Jones, fun fact. Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know, that famous scene where he gets confronted by the guy with the sword, and then he just like, whatever, and just shoots him. So that scene in the script was supposed to be a big sword fight.
Really?
What happened was, because they were filming in all sorts of mystical new places, everyone got diarrhea on the set and dysentery, and everyone was ill as fuck, and everyone was throwing up and shitting themselves all the time. So Harrison Ford didn't want to do the sword fight, so he just went, "Can I just shoot this fucker?" And that's what's in the film.
Nice. Was Harrison Ford's most famous ad-libbed line?
I work around the clock. Well, that's a meme. He shouts in some movie, some 90s terrible action movie, where he goes, "I already work around the clock."
I already work around the clock.
No,
Okay.
it's not that. It's the Star Wars line when he's in Star Wars that I know,
Oh, I know, yeah.
because he was supposed to say, so Leia says, "I love you," and he's supposed to say, "I love you too."
Yeah.
He decided that wasn't very Han Solo.
Yeah.
So he just goes, "I know."
Well, they went through loads of takes where they tried different things as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then when they were like very tired, he just said, "I know." And that's what worked, because that's a very Han Solo thing to say. I already work around the clock.
Have no idea what that is. I've never heard that before in my life.
It's just like one of those terrible acting moments. Speaking of Harrison Ford,
Yep.
but not his fun fact, but a movie he's in is Blade Runner.
Yep.
One of the most famous ad-lib lines of all time is "Tears in the Rain." Do you remember?
I don't remember anything about Blade Runner. It was
Me neither,
so
except this
boring.
one.
It's one of the most boring films I've ever seen.
So, Rutger Hauer, who is the bad guy in Blade Runner,
Yep.
he's the evil robot man. Was it skin job? What are they called? That's the racial slur against them.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Replicants.
Okay. Yeah.
Replicants.
Skin jobs. There's a massage parlor somewhere offering skin jobs.
So he's a replicant, and at the end of the movie, he's kind of beaten Harrison Ford, but also fallen down at the end, and he's impaled himself. And he has this big monologue of, well, what is it like to be human? It's all these memories that disappears like tears in the rain, and it's raining. And the Tears in the Rain was completely improvised.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
It's
quite good.
it's like one of those things where it's so perfect, but it's weird that it's improvised, like it's weird that someone didn't come up with that already.
It's weird that you come up with that on the spot.
That's the thing, he didn't come up with it on the spot.
Okay.
But he thought of it before the day. It's not complete raw improvisation, but he did come up with it during production. Okay, I got one more. Big Lebowski.
I'm not sure I've ever seen The Big Lebowski.
What?
Or if I have seen it, I've forgotten about it.
Yeah, so Jeff Bridges, who plays the Big Lebowski,
The dude, right?
the dude, his whole character is he's lazy and he doesn't have ambition, doesn't have a goal in life, doesn't want to be bigger than anything, he just want to hang around. So the Coen brothers, to really exude this idea, asked Jeff Bridges to do his own costume. So he's his own costume department. So whatever the dudes, that very specific thing where you see people dress up and everything, the little slippers, the little brown thing, the little Hawaiian shorts, that's Jeff Bridges' loungewear.
Do you think he actually owned that stuff, or do you think he went out and bought?
No, the way he says it, he owned that stuff and he used
Really?
that, yeah. Okay, over to you.
That was me. Right, so this is one of my funnest of facts.
Oh.
Have you ever heard of the sideways effect?
Related to the movie Sideways?
Yes.
Oh wait, I think you said something.
I have. I think I may have told you before, because it is one of my favourite fun facts
Okay, go on then.
about film. Have you seen it? Have you seen the film Sideways?
Again, a long time ago.
Okay, so for those that don't know, it's a film about two guys. One of them's getting married, and they go out to this vineyard to kind of celebrate the one getting married. The one getting married is very positive and very outgoing, and his friend is miserable.
Paul Giamatti.
Yeah,
He's playing the Paul Giamatti character.
exactly. But the Paul Giamatti's character is really into wine, but he hates Merlot.
Okay.
He really hates Merlot. It's a really famous line in the film, because the good friend is setting him up with a girl, and he's trying to convince him to go. He goes, "Fine, I'll go on a date, but I'm not drinking any fucking Merlot." It's a whole thing for the film. So Sideways came out in 2004. At the time, Merlot was 20% of California's wine market. A year later, it had dropped to 13% because nobody wanted to drink Merlot anymore.
Wow.
And in the film as well, so he really likes Pinot Noir, and sales of Pinot Noir grew by 16% in
Wow.
the same period.
The power of movies.
Power of movies.
Sideways wasn't really a huge movie either.
This is the thing about it. Like, most people I talk to are like, oh, have you seen Sideways? Have you heard of Sideways? They're like, no.
Yeah.
No one's heard of it. No one's seen it.
Maybe it's a very like California specific movie because it feels kind of like that as well.
I don't know. I don't know
Okay.
any of that. But that is my favourite fun fact about films.
Well, what did you learn today?
Well, I learnt some fun facts.
Yeah. Which one was your favorite fun fact?
Mr. Bean flies a plane.
Mine was, I think it was the E.T.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it would be.
Gives me new nightmares. Only Spielberg could make a fucking an alien terror movie into a fucking family-friendly fun adventure. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to our fun facts. Thank you for everybody for your recommendations. Thank you for engaging. It's awesome. We really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get through your films and survive.
Yeah. Oh, bye. Bye.
Oh yeah, bye.
Bye.
See you later, bye.
Son of a